Hello, and welcome to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I am so glad you are here with me. My name is Carrie Dale, and I am your host. I am an entrepreneur, author, podcaster, manifester, and motivator. And I am on a mission to empower you to create the life of your dreams. If you are looking to up-level your life, relationships, finances, productivity, and success, you have come to the right place. I will share with you tools, resources, strategies, my failures, and my successes that have all helped me achieve the life of my dreams. It is my goal with this podcast to help you see your potential and empower you to create the life of your dreams. So let's get to it. Welcome back to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. Today, I'm with Johanna Bradley, and she is, she's a powerhouse. She is this woman who I have watched over the years, having grown up with her, go from corporate world to, I think, what I call her passion project. And now she's just thriving in this world. And I just want to share her with you all. Welcome, Jo.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. It's nice to see you. Nice to be here. Thank you for thinking of me.
I just, like I was saying to you just a bit ago, I've been watching you for years. I mean, we see each other once in a while when you're in town, but I've been watching you just transform, I think is a good word. I mean, I think you were always this person, but I just been watching the story in your life, and I would love it if you could actually share your story.
Sure. Where to begin?
Wherever you want.
Well, especially just based on some things you said, and then because we did grow up together and because you're located in Jackson County and everything, I think it's a big part of me. And like when you said, maybe I've always been this person and becoming myself, I think that's a root of it. People ask me, because I live in Southern California now, and people ask me, like, when did you start practicing yoga, or when did you practice mindfulness, which is really the heart of yoga? And I kind of don't remember a time when it wasn't around me, because I think that's the community that we grew up in, whereas a lot of communities are different. Mm-hmm. So, growing up in that environment where people are thinking about energy and mindfulness, breath, meditation, just all these different things. I mean, I think I was exposed to those kind of modalities from a really young age. I ended up going to school in, for 1 year in Mexico, and then in Southern California. And I've been here ever since, because I had my kids really young and got married when I was 20. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Talk about, I look at 20-year-olds now and they look like such little children to me. And at the time I felt so grown and prepared
for
all the things. I know it's bizarre. So and ended up staying in this cute little town called Claremont, California. And when I graduated college, I already had a daughter, and I very much, wanted to provide and have health insurance and all those things. So we talked about it a little bit, have multiple sides to myself too. I'm good at math. I'm good at sales, some different things. And so I got a corporate job, and turns out I thrived in that corporate environment and did really well. So I actually worked mainly for one large Fortune 500 company for over 20 years, a couple other ones in and out of that, but in executive sales and marketing and everything. And I really enjoyed it, but it definitely was only feeding that one side of who I am. The kind of big turning point for me, I practiced yoga from a very young age. My first official class, I was 18. I've been practicing for almost 30 years.
That's a long time. That's amazing.
That's another one. Well, it's again that time's flying, time's passing quickly. And in about I practiced, I loved it. I loved the way it made me feel. I liked the community, just the presence and the movement. I liked how strong it made me, how flexible. In 2013, I basically, the simplest way I say it is, my whole world fell apart. I had 3 kids and had been married at that point for 16 years, together for 19. And my mom got very suddenly sick with lung cancer. She passed away very suddenly in March. My husband died from a violent suicide in front of me. There's no other way to say it. And one of my kids and the other kids were around, just because that layers on not only grief, but then really terrible trauma as well, PTSD, like very acute trauma for myself and my kids. And then my dad passed away the following March from late onset Alzheimer's, because he was already pretty like degraded. I mean, that's like 30 seconds to describe the worst year of my life, probably like a lot of people's lives.
No, that is, I think that exceeds most people's worst year.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was awful.
that's 3 people. Ugh.
Yeah. And in these really different, but all very traumatic kind of circumstances, I feel like I got a terrible, terrible sampling of like all the different things, right? Like Alzheimer's, traumatic, violent suicide, lung cancer in the hospitals and stuff. I mean, it just was, yeah. If there, anyone who's experienced trauma specifically and or grief knows that you kind of lose yourself, and it's always difficult to describe, but it's like your body, your mind, and your spirit completely disassociate. And I love reminding myself that that's a protective mechanism. It's this beautiful thing that our bodies and minds do, because frankly, it's too much. We can't handle it all at once. And so that's how it's a very animalistic like mechanism that helps us survive. And it can't go on forever, right? So then the work is like kind of piecing yourself back together. You blow apart, and then you slowly have to figure out how to piece yourself back together. So that's where yoga specifically like completely shifted for me and became the place where I pieced myself back together. There were a lot of things, believe me. I don't think one thing fixes it all. I've seen, I think, every counselor in town. I've done EMDR. Like, there's lots of things that help. But for me personally, even balancing on one foot, doing a really hard physical posture was the only time when my brain would kind of slow down and my mind would yoke back together, which is the meaning of yoga, is yoking your mind, your body, and your spirit back together, because I was so focused in that moment and in my body and in my breath and grounded. So yeah, so I was still, after a leave, I was still at my corporate job, and I was really just reliant upon yoga in a really positive way, and the community, and the amount of tears I shed in our final relaxation pose, which is called Shavasana, like on my back after working up all this prana and all this energy to the surface, and then just releasing it. I mean, if I had $1 for every tear, I would definitely be a billionaire. It was a lot, and it was a beautiful, beautiful release. So in 2019, I decided that it was really important to me to share that more directly. I already was teaching yoga, but I wanted to kind of build a community of my own, or, bring that to the community. And so I opened Empower Yoga in Rancho Cucamonga, California. That's where I am right now. And started building a yoga community. We had a really great first year, and I was still working my job. And then in 2020, the pandemic hit. So at 1 year, like almost to the day of our opening, was the worst time for in-person, yoga studios. It was crazy. So that definitely was difficult. I'm still
Had you left
trying
your
to
corporate
recover.
job?
Luckily, at that point, I hadn't.
Okay.
I was planning to, and I had a manager who was running things and, trying to keep all the balls in the air and everything. But the corporate job in some ways had gotten more and more kind of unbearable for me at this stage of life. So then mid-pandemic in 2021, I did leave my corporate job. And either I'm a genius or I'm crazy. I still haven't decided yet, right? The two could be like two sides of the same coin. I opened up a second location. I quit my corporate job. I opened up a second location. Nobody knew how long and kind of the tail end of like what the pandemic was going to do, right? How it was going to change us as kind of a society and everything. I feel like we're still coming back to in person and to proximity and things like that. But I opened a second location in Claremont. I got more space. I ended up transitioning one of the spaces into a retail store. And I left my job because that was just too much. But we were definitely scraping together, trying to figure out how to do like online, and classes were very, very small. So it was like financially and kind of risk wise, like definitely devastating. I'm all in. I'm all in on yoga. Luckily now, like things have kind of shifted and people are coming back and they're comfortable being in person. So now I'm running 2 vibrant yoga studios and a retail store that kind of just happened, but it's all products that I really am passionate about and love. And I actually get a really huge kick out of the retail side of it. We cry. Like I meet women, it's hilarious. Especially with the women, they'll come in and like we have all the time. There's just something about that environment where women are sharing about health issues or weight loss or our bodies changing or different things, and we'll find like an outfit and have like shared tears about it. It's really empowered. So the name is Empower, which is empowering, and it keeps coming back to that. It's a very empowering space, both the practice as well as the retail store. And then because my heart is always in Ashland, I definitely want to mention that even at my little store down here in Southern California, I have, we carry Kate Jack jewelry, my favorite. Yeah, she's a local Ashland gal. And then we carry a bunch of papaya artwork goods from Anahata, the beautiful originally Ashland-based artist. And all kinds of stuff. So anytime I get a chance to, connect with the beauty of my upbringing and childhood, I try to, and I'm bringing a little bit of that goodness down here.
I think that's amazing. Actually, your entire story is. I like we said in the beginning, you've turned your passion into a career. And what better way? I mean, I'm always telling people all the time, if you don't love it, why are you doing it? Yeah. Has all of this had any real impact on your kids? I mean, I understand like life has had impact on your children, but this change for you, this you rediscovering yourself, has it impacted them in one way or another?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because part of it, because I had kids so young, is that they're all like, my youngest is 20 now. So all the kids were kind of like graduating high school, starting their own lives in some way when I made the change. And they're so sweet. My kids are so sweet. They do say things like they're just so glad to see me, kind of taking risks and doing what I love and all of that. They also see, I mean, small business is super hard. I think I'm definitely working a lot harder than I was at a corporate job, which is, don't be mistaken. Like it's all on the owner. It is a passion project. If you don't love it, you would be crazy to, start your own thing. Like you have to love it because otherwise forget about it.
Yeah, you're not going to keep doing it for sure.
Exactly. Because it's super hard work, but I'm super passionate about it. And my daughter worked with me for a while too. She teaches yoga. She's yoga certified and did some of our purchasing and things. And so my kids are kind of building their whole own lives now, but I think I guess I feel grateful that I'm demonstrating to them that they have choices. And I think they know that the choices I made early on were 100% based on caring for them. And now I have the opportunity to make some choices for myself. And I think they're really glad to see that. And I'm glad I'm demonstrating that behavior. So, yeah.
Would you advise them to go after their passion now? Or do you think it's something you need to wait for until you're ready?
I totally do.
You did both. Yeah. And I.
Well, because life is very practical too, right? We've got bills to pay and mouths to feed and all that stuff. So If they, like, my one son is very passionate about music and he's an incredible musician, and he doesn't want to do that for a living. It's just, it's for the love of it. And there is true. And actually, my late husband had many wise sayings. And one was, there's no better way to kill a hobby than try and make money at it. And there's some truth to that. Because then it becomes work and it becomes business. And that's something I not even struggle with, but just I stay aware of in my own work. I try and enjoy and love the teaching specifically, but then there's a lot of businessy parts too. So with my kids, if they knew that there was something that they wanted to go after, I would do anything to support them, and 100%. But they're still really, I think, unclear. They're finding what their passion is, which for some of us, it took me a long time. I didn't know this is what I wanted to do until much later in life.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't either. I mean, I get it. So very, very clear. And my kids are the same age as yours. I mean, as you know, we all kind of started, not all of us, but several of us around town started early. Yeah.
A lot of us did. Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's once they find that love, go for it. But until then, just explore, right? Explore what you like and don't like. And
exactly.
You also mentioned in the very beginning that it's a mindset. Like yoga is a mindset. Do you want to explain that a little bit more?
I love to. Don't get me started. I should mention, we also do a yoga certification. We're like a certified, Empower is a certified yoga teaching school. So I co-lead it with this amazing instructor, Mata Maya. So we teach yoga to yoga teachers, to future yoga teachers. And particularly through that, it's required and it's very important to understand much more of the yoga practice beyond the physical postures. People usually think of just in the West, they think of the physical postures when you think of yoga. That's fine. And I honestly think in my work, we bring a lot of people in because of that. They want to do the physical postures or get strong, but then they're getting the other elements, maybe not even realizing it. And what a gift. And that's okay. Yoga itself, I always try and want to give appreciation and credit for anyone who doesn't know, is a thousands-year-old practice from Southeast Asia. And has many, many limbs and many, many different styles of practice and things like that. And we've kind of consolidated that in the West into primarily physical movement. But yog is the Sanskrit root for yoga, and it has a lot of ways to be defined, but people like to say like yoking together, the mind, body, and the spirit, that coming together. It also refers to yoking like you would cattle. Like if you're riding in a chariot, right, and you're pulling the oxen back, and the reference there is, and maybe your listeners or you can relate to, our minds running wild like cattle, which happens often to all of us. It's a very human experience. And being able to pull the reins in on our minds, like yoke the thoughts and the being together. So yeah, it has lots of limbs that have to do with meditation, breath retention. The physical posture is actually a very small piece of it, but it's been super helpful to me and has evolved recently, for a number of reasons. But yeah, that's the mindset, is really being present. It's what we call mindfulness. Oh, sorry. There's my dog. Speaking of, I'm getting excited. George. Yeah. And that's the mindset of yoga, I think, in probably the simplest form. It's more about breath and thought control or awareness, even than the physical posture. But the physical posture is great too.
Yeah, but it's interesting because so many people, I feel like they go, oh, I go to yoga because it's for my physical being, right? For be in shape, so whatever it is, and they don't really think about the rest of it until one day it clicks.
Yeah, and it is. I've gone back and forth, especially just in terms of I always want to be in the appreciation camp for all these beautiful gifts that have been given and shared that are yoga. And sometimes I think like, oh, is it bad that we're so focused on the physical? But if that brings people in, and then we still, like I just taught this morning, a pranayama breath exercise as we began the physical posture, and we take rest at the end, which is a reclined meditation that is teaching people who maybe have never meditated, never done breath work before. And even they're getting a little glimpse of that, then that's a beautiful thing, regardless of what kind of originally brought them in.
Yeah. So you've also now expanded, right? You're not just the yoga and the clothing. Is that right?
A little, yeah. I'm trying to focus on general wellness as well. I'm calling it the Wellness Institute, because we already were offering, in addition to our regular scheduled yoga classes, physical asana classes, there's so many modalities, as everyone probably who listens to you knows, and certainly who spent any time in Ashland knows, right? There's lots of different ways to approach it that are beyond yoga, as far as like energy work. We had a shamanic sound healing last weekend. There's a Buddhist meditation teacher who's going to be doing a mindfulness training with us. And so those things are slightly, they're outside of the specifically yoga range, but again, we're able to bring it to the community. So that's the Wellness Institute. And then aerial yoga, we're hanging upside down too, right? There's like all the different aspects of it. Yeah. Trying to continue to do the regular classes. I have the clothing store, and then really brand all these special events as the Wellness Institute. We're going to Belize in May for a retreat with the Wellness Institute. Yeah, there's 3 rooms left. If any of your listeners want to come, that's it. We're almost booked. And things like that. So yeah, it keeps expanding. I will say, for anyone who is an entrepreneur or thinking about being an entrepreneur, I feel like you always have to be pivoting and growing. You probably know that too from your work. And if you're not shifting, growing, exploring, being creative, it's almost like you're moving backwards. You have to keep moving forward and learning. So it really is a very vibrant line of work. So yeah, thank you for noticing. That is true. Empower Wellness.
I love it. And I was actually about to change our conversation and go more towards the entrepreneur side. And you just answered what I was going to ask, which is, what advice would you give? But is there anything else?
Keep going.
It's hard work. It's so hard. And like we said in the very beginning, if you aren't passionate about it, it's not going to work. I think one of Jeff's things he says to me all the time is, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. I mean, don't do it.
So smart.
But what else? That. I do too. I mean, I know it's like a little, but it is. It's so true. If you can't say absolutely, I want to do this, then why are you doing it? Yeah. What else though? What else would you advise somebody who's just either getting started, or maybe they're even in that spot of, crap, like I've been doing this and I'm just not making the progress that I want to?
Yeah, I worked with a mindfulness coach who's also a business coach. I want to give her a shout out too, because you can check her out, Tyona Vallejo. She's down here in Southern California, but just a really incredible guide and coach about it's kind of relates back to yoga. It's like you've got to get your thoughts, worries, everything like really clear and concrete, which obviously, like journaling, there's all kinds of different tools you can use. Know your walk away, know your things, so that you can let all that noise in your head kind of go. And then that's the space. Once you have that kind of sorted, that's the only way to then find creativity and find growth. Because otherwise you're like, it's very easy for me anyway to get burdened down with like the worry and the, what about this? And, oh, this happened. And, things that I perceive as problems that aren't necessarily problems. So when you can kind of get clear on that and find your center again, which is why it's very kind of yoga and mindfulness related, then you can start to focus on the creativity and the growth. And that's where the things like Wellness Institute, or even like details with the classes. We launched a new type of class that's doing really well and bringing new people in, like you've got to keep staying in that creative passion space. And it's like worry is the enemy of passion. I feel like, I'm sure there's a quote somewhere out there that relates to that. But it has to do with getting your mind straight and staying in your passion and staying in your creativity, because you got to keep going. And then there may be, places that you have to be able to let go of and be willing to release. And I've done some of that too. Yeah. I was running a cardio studio. Guess what? That is not my passion. It just kind of happened.
I didn't even know you did that.
Yeah, I had Versa climbers and TRX and everything. And just because the space called for it, and I had all the equipment, and I ended up, and it was again through coaching, which is another thing, is not just coaching, but also, and it has happened to be all women, like I need to keep networking and talking. It's not even networking really. It's like women tend to, in business, support women and give each other these ideas. And it was through their perspective that I was able to let go of like the cardio studio, for instance. And that's what gave me the capacity and creativity to start working on the Wellness Institute, which is more in my wheelhouse. And I still like taking the classes at cardio, but that was not for me to run. So things like that. Yeah.
Well, that's such a beautiful thing for you to share about women supporting you, because I think that there is this false belief, and not necessarily false because it's true in some ways, but women are so competitive with one another. But at the same time, in the entrepreneurial space, I feel like I've just seen time and time and time again where women support each other, where they just lift each other up and go, hey, look, I've done that. I've been there. I've felt that. This is what you could do, or here's another idea, or let's do this together. I mean, I think
you're so right.
It's a beautiful thing. And for me, it's completely changed how I feel about women in general, because I think for a long time, I did feel that competitive. And I think in that corporate world, it's like it's like you're fighting for the top spot, right? Whereas this just feels like, no, let's do it together.
Yeah, it's so true, Carrie. Like it's you said it all, but that's 100%. And it's so different. I went and talked at my alma mater for a like women in business roundtable with all these young, college gals, and they asked I think the question was, what's the difference between corporate networking and like your circle of women who you work with now? Because I had mentioned it, and I almost fell back because I was like, you can't even compare the two. Corporate networking, it felt like, was what can I get from the other person? And this, we'll just go have lunch or have tea or share messages or anything. And it's the exact opposite. It's like, how can we partner? How can we support? What are ideas? What's worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? I mean, I have a friend who owns a yoga studio maybe 20, 30 miles east. And I'm sending people there all the time if they live out in that area. Like it's different. We're trying to support each other and grow from each other.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful thing. I know for a while, at least during COVID, you were doing a lot of online teaching. Are you still doing that, or have you evolved away from that again?
Thank goodness. For me personally, no, we're not doing any online teaching. And during COVID, we offered it. The thing is, it's really hard to teach people, especially kind of an energetic practice on a screen. Also, everyone was doing it. So there was so much access that it's hard to stand apart or get value for it. There's a lot of great content out there and great teachers if you're doing it online. The thing that we really offer is the space and the community. And the best way I can say it is like energy that you share when you are in a room with other people in a supportive environment. The first class I came back to teach in person, I burst into tears, and happy tears, just because it's like, oh yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. It's so once you've experienced that, it's really hard to practice on a screen. That said, there's people who, again, if that's their gateway and they come to it, great. But I'm really grateful not to be doing that anymore.
I only asked because I feel like there are so many places. I mean, yes, we talked about Ashland being special, right? I mean, you can find what you do here, but I feel like it's not the norm. It's not, I mean, like I said in the beginning, yoga for so many people is just the physical, and they don't even know it. So I just didn't know if that was a gateway, like you said, for them to find you or come to you. But
yeah, I think there's people probably who do it, but at least for my teaching and for most of my teachers, like, yeah, we're really the in presence energy and breath and everything is like really critical. So yeah.
feeling that and being around one another is important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you have going on that you want to share? Anything else on your heart that you feel is important that we haven't talked about?
No, I think it's great what you're doing, and it's so nice to see you. I'm super excited. I'm coming up to Ashland for our 30th high school reunion
I know.
this summer.
So
That's on
weird.
my heart because I can't believe it that it's time. And I always love it's just such a special place. Truly, I mean it. I just love being up there. But no, it's just so nice connecting and sharing. And again, it's what you were saying. It's like women supporting women. I would do anything to support you, and I know vice versa, and even from afar. And I think it's great.
Thanks. Well, I hoped you loved hearing Jo's story today. She's an amazing woman with really a touching, a touching story. She's been through a lot of hard, but she's turned it into this beautiful, magical gift that she can share with the world and help others connect and feel more mindful and in tune with themselves. And so if you're in Claremont or Southern California, I would suggest you seek her out. If you support her clothing line, support her retreats, just check her out. She's pretty amazing. And above all else, I believe in you, and you can manifest the life of your dreams.